Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We will continue with the next step of our today's program. In the last few years, since the outbreak of corona pandemic, the major supply chains have been extremely tense. What lessons industrial and trading companies have learned from this and how they safeguard their procurement and shipping goods against it? This will be the subject of our next panel discussion hosted by Österreichische Verkehrszeitung. And I am really grateful that I can welcome at the stage the leading speaker of this panel discussion, the person who is a part of editorial office of Österreichische Verkehrszeitung, Mr. Barry Stephen Hooper, and he will introduce his guests.
Good morning, everyone. So my name is Barry Hooper, and I am representing the Österreichische Verkehrszeitung today. I'll be moderating for the panel, so I'd like to now obviously introduce the panel a little bit later. Just for any one of you who might not be completely aware, the ÖVZ is an Austrian transport and logistics magazine, and we are specializing mainly in the Central and Eastern European regions. We've been operating for 25 years, and that's one of the reasons why we're here today, is to celebrate our 25th year anniversary. Our lead our editor-in-chief and our main publisher is Joachim Horvath, and he obviously started the company and has progressed this company over 25 years, which has shown great longevity. And like I said, we're here to celebrate the success of the company and what he's achieved with the company itself. So we also like to thank the WOF, the World of Freight, for organising this event and giving us this opportunity to present ourselves and present our panel, and have a good morning and a good day doing this here today. So thank you very much. So in addition, each phase of our reporting has had its own special features over the past 25 years, like digitalisation, Brexit, and unfortunately wars as well. The big topic at the moment, besides decarbonisation, is the resilience in global supply chains. So today, we'd like to discuss this with our panel. So I'd like to introduce you to them now. So I'd like to bring up to the stage Mr. Ronald Friedreich, Mr. Dimitri Iorfer, Mr. Michael Zach, and Mr. Thomas Sticht.
Which way was he now?
So thank you, gentlemen, for joining me up on the panel today. So, we'll go straight into the questions. So, first question, well, first thing I would like you to do is just to briefly introduce yourself and your company, please. So we can start here on the right-hand side, please.
Yeah, good morning to everybody. My name is Ronald Friedreich. I'm working for a Danish company called Maersk. As you know this organization for quite some time. We just recently stepped into the air freight market as well, and I have the pleasure and the honor heading up the air freight startup within Maersk in quite a number of European countries. Yeah, after 7 years abroad, I came back to Austria in 2022, and actually here I am, where I started in the last century. Good morning to everybody.
Good morning, everyone. Dimitri Iorfer, I'm a Global Chief Commercial Officer for Acre Worldwide. We're one of the leading NVOs in the world. I'm based in Charlotte, North Carolina, in the US. I think this is my third panel, and very happy to be here.
Yeah, hello. My name is Michael Zach. I'm, in German you'd say it's a Heimspiel for us, because I'm with Vienna Airport, doing ground and cargo handling and passenger handling. We're one of a few airports who do have their own cargo and ground handling insourced. And yeah, I'm happy to be here on the stage.
Good morning, everybody, also from my side, Thomas Sticht. I'm the co-founder and managing director of ACS Logistics, specialized in air and ocean freight and supply chain solutions. That's what I'm doing almost since 25 years. And yeah, special thing in our company in ACS Logistics is most probably we are highly digitalized, a big topic at the moment, right? And yeah, and most agile, efficient, and lean company, exactly what the market demand currently, but especially in future is.
Thank you, gentlemen, for your brief introductions. So we'll move straight on to the questions. So I'll just put this out to all of you, and feel free to speak up and put your answers out. So, how do you assess the current state of the global supply chains?
Well, Asia import market down roughly 40%, European export market down roughly 20%. So I think these are the key highlights of the first 10 weeks of the year. What is happening? What will happen? How quick will it recover back to a pre-COVID level? Many different opinions, but let's see how it goes. I think the first couple of weeks were tough, but the next coming quarters will show who has the ability and agility actually to sustain and grow even in this tough period of time.
I think you're right. Sorry. We're back to 2018, so I think that everybody remember margins and the volumes of 2018. We're right back to that. As you said, we don't know when it's going to change. Our industry is very cyclical. We're back to the bottom of cycle. The question is how long this bottom will be. Numbers, what you mentioned, that's what we're hearing in the market as well. We've seen slight rebound in the US. We've seen slight rebound in Europe export, which is positive to see. We've seen places like India and Indonesia and others doing quite well, but in general, market is down. We all hoping it's a nice pause after the last 2 years to get us together and come back to some kind of a normalcy.
We experienced not that drastic declines at Vienna Airport. So we had in the first 2 months roughly 6% traffic down cargo-wise. So it was not that drastic as we heard before. Nevertheless, we're not seeing a strong rebound. There have been in the past 2 to 3 weeks have been tendencies of stabilized traffic. So we compared to last year, there was some growth at Vienna Airport, but I don't expect the market to fully go back to normal size, at least for another 6 months, I'd say. So I'd say it's a bit of optimistic outlook, but not too optimistic. Yeah.
Not much to add. Fully agree on you guys. I think there are many things have been said to the pandemic, to the post-pandemic, to the pre-pandemic, everything. But the fact is that we come from the highest peak we've ever seen. And what we've seen was kind of a bullwhip effect. That means through the period of, let's say, 12 to 18 months, we have gone up to skyrocket somewhere. But now we see the reverse trend, falling back down. You've mentioned how much the rates came back. But to be honest, I mean, that brings a lot of headaches to many people, right, to many companies. But to be honest, it was far too high, and so this is now the time when we come back to the, let's say, kind of normal. At the moment, we do see this reverse trend in the downturn. There's kind of a dynamic that we expect to see until mid of this year at least, and most probably second half of this year, very expectable. We do see kind of a balancing at the lower level, let's say, back to typical usual competition we used to know until 3 years ago.
Okay. Thank you very much. So on to the next question. How are your experiences of the current times in terms of resilience, and what does this mean for your company?
Well, from an airport perspective, I think most of you guys probably have experienced firsthand what it means when a ground and cargo handling and an airport is resilient or is not resilient when you have been traveling last year. So we saw, I'd say, at many airports, we saw huge delays. We saw cargo outside on the apron waiting for hours or even days to be handled. What I can say for Vienna Airport, we did have, from an operational point of view, a very, very good year. So resilience for us means that you can cope with the different fluctuations in traffic, and that's mainly I'd say the most important thing also for a ground handler to cope with nearly no traffic at all. I mean, that's not hard to cope with it, but what do you do with the people? Then you have like peaks. On a day, the peaks are different, so passenger and cargo is not the same at 9 a.m. and 12 a.m. So you have different peaks when you look at different days of the week. You have different peaks summer and winter, and even different peaks when you look at different years. And to cope with this unplannable peaks, that's something what is our, I'd say, core business. And I think that especially Vienna Airport and the ground handling and cargo handling has done a really good job. So we were one of the best hubs cargo-wise and passenger-wise. And that means for us this is resilience. So coping with different circumstances and dealing with situations that a few weeks before have been somehow different, despite of those changing circumstances, dealing with it and delivering finally the best service for the customers, for the passengers, but also for all the companies in a cargo supply chain, freight forwarding companies, airlines and so on, shippers delivering a high quality. And yeah, I think we've done a good job last year at Vienna Airport.
I think as an industry in general, we're quite resilient. I don't think anything new happened in the last 2 years. I always say that for some reason we only make money when it's a chaos. For some reason our industry cannot function when it's nice and quiet. So I think we're pretty resilient. I think we've done a good job getting through the COVID. Biggest challenge for us, being in biggest focus as a company, was really our staff, because we can deal with the issues of the rollers of the containers and unhappy customers. It's to make sure that our staff is okay, staff who work at home, came back. Mental health, that's been probably the most unexpected and the biggest challenge, and where I think we've done a good job, but as an industry, it's something that's completely new. We never really had issues to find people. It's been a biggest, also huge challenge, especially in Europe, to even find people and making sure that people being productive, but also have a normal mental health, not being overworked, because that's been the toughest challenge. And I think that's where we show that as an industry, we're quite resilient, and as a company.
Yeah, I think resilience has a couple of components what have to be considered. One is financial stability. The other one is the right business model, an asset-driven business model, a proper wide product portfolio, so you can manage the trends and mode shifts going from air to ocean, from ocean to air, back and forth. And I said asset-driven simply because you reduce dependency to partners. And these are the ingredients which help us to be where we are, and a clear strategy and execution. And okay, now we have a couple of tough months, but it's, as you said already, the business is cycling. So there will be a new time when the cycle goes up again, and if everybody does the proper homework and stays calm, we're gonna be successful these days, and we're gonna be even more successful when the business and the volume is picking up again. This is resilience for us.
Okay, and I'll put the next question. I think some of this was covered already, but how do you create resilience in a global supply chain, and what value does this have to your customers? So I can probably put this out to you to start with.
Okay. I mean, also let me add one more thing on the last question. Yeah? So resilience we do not experience since COVID only. Yeah? Actually, this is topic was getting started after the financial crisis, 2007, 2008. Yeah? That was the point of time, yeah, when you stretch the timeline, yeah, much more back into the history. When you stretch the timeline, you can see and recognize that the crisis cycles are coming in a much closer period of time, yeah? Much more frequent. Yeah? That's what we see. And this, of course, was the very clear announcement to any company, to any business, go for resilience, very clearly. Now we have experienced it in another dimension with COVID, very clearly. We have already heard a lot of those things. Yeah? It's, the one thing is agility, yeah? From our perspective as a company, as a small and medium, or a medium-sized company. We employ 60 staff currently, and our business model is to be an agile, super lean, highly efficient company. Yeah? Started our business in 2011. That means nearly 12 years back. And so we live resilience since day one. Yeah? How do we live it? By bringing in, again, an agile business model, leadership that is pushing into exactly that direction in terms of creating mindset with our staff. And also target setting, for example, that's a big issue. Yeah? Most of us experienced how to set targets maybe in an annual cycles, right? Talking about a target once in a year. So that's what we, for example, have changed completely. So we do have our, we call it molds. It's an annual target which is oriented always on the vision, on the long-term strategy. And from there, we take down quarterly targets, yeah, which we call key results. Yeah? So that's exactly our answer to the question, yeah, how we tackle the resilience.
Okay, thank you. Does anyone of the panel want to add to this?
Well, you have said it, people make the difference, so resilience is not something that can be created from my point of view out of a software technology. You need the right people on board. You need people that think sometimes a bit differently, that discuss a lot, that speak a lot. It sounds rather simple. It's in actually when you do live it, it's much more complicated to get the right people on board, to get them talking, to get different opinions, and also try as a manager to listen to the ideas, and then yeah, when you have the right people on board and you get them thinking, then resilience is something that then comes when you also listen closely to the customer's needs, and when you're close to the customer and you have the right people that also listen and discuss things and want to change things, then you have the best prerequisite to have built a resilient company and a resilient personnel.
I think, Thomas, you mentioned the key word that's we're going to hear for the next 18 months is efficiencies. I mean, we go into the completely different cycle. We're going from cycle of we don't care how many files you do, just do something, because we need to process. We're going now to how many files each person can do, how do we control the cost, because margins are back to the days of 2018, 2019, free fall is over. Whoever is going to be first to understand it and really transition to that is going to win, because the cost control will become a big issue. I know lots of topics in the panels for digitalization, that's the word. And that's, again, it's all about efficiencies. It's all about how can you process more freight or same freight with the same amount of people or less people. Not that we want to fire people, but in a new environment where half of the staff still work from home, that people are tired after COVID, how do we make them efficient without putting additional pressure on them? And to me, that was really what will show next 12 months, where we're back to reality and there's no crazy numbers. How will companies really cope with that? How will companies take pressure off employers to making sure that we continue this supply chain, can continue this lifeline for the world without really killing our staff and continue being better and better at being efficient?
Thank you very much. Yeah.
Well, being resilient means also to count on partnership, I think. Partnership, we spoke about people, but also in regards of suppliers and customers. Moments like now always create appetite for opportunistic steps. But going into an opportunistic approach already opens the door for in-resilience. So therefore, as more honest and transparent you are with all the players in the field, and the more you continue with a clear strategy and you clearly show the execution of the strategy, the better it is, and the better it is also to go through tough times. This killed my micro, I think.
Yeah, it's good. Yep, it's good. Yep.
Good.
Yep, yep. Okay, so moving on. Sorry about that brief cutout. So moving on to the next question. To what extent can decarbonisation and resilience be reconciled? Who would like to start this off? Dimitri, should we start with you?
That's a really good question. And it's, I'm sure that everybody in this room heard that we need to do the carbon offset and ESG. Everybody wants and nobody wants to pay for it. And that, I think, will be our challenge as an industry. How do we set the market that eventually we can combine both, that we can combine cost recovery together with initiatives? Because there's no doubt we need a better environmental consciousness, if you would say that. And we, as an industry, I think officially we're the worst polluter in the world because of the ships. So something have to be done. I think you see lots of people, including our company, making lots of steps with the carbon offset. But how do you reconcile with the challenging economical times? I think that will be the largest challenge for us as an industry. I know in our side of the business, we now come to the point that, especially in Europe, we're no longer allowed to participate in RFQs unless we have a proper ESG program, which also comes with a cost. Which, and I think for everybody in this room, to me, this is the challenge for all of us for next 24 to 36 months. How do we get better as an industry and still making sure that we implement the real changes? I know by being involved in our ESG initiatives, there's a very little intelligence out there. What is it supposed to be? What specific fuels you use and others. So that's for us, for all of us in this room, that's how we're going to move forward. And I think that's how we can also make impact in the world.
I think one of the main points we have to consider there is the point time. How much time do we have for certain aspects to get to get moving? Yeah, as Vienna Airport, we're one of the first airports to have CO2 neutral operation. But we're not there yet. When I look now at my specific department, business unit, ground handling or cargo handling, we're not there yet. Even though we are CO2 neutral, we have not eliminated all the diesel vehicles on the apron, simply because there's not the right technology there that can replace the old equipment. So you lose efficiency, it takes longer, you need more staff, charging is too slow. So it's not right now, I'd say it's not the right time to really get rid of all the old vehicles, towing and so on, because it's simply not the equipment there to replace it. And we're thinking about it, so we're constantly looking at the market, trying things out. And yeah, that's why I say you need the right time. It's for sure it's in 2, 3, 4 years. The industry has evolved. There are other vehicles then that you can use for this with the same efficiency, but now it's simply, I'd say, I wouldn't say not possible, but it's hardly possible to change all the equipment one-to-one and with electric or hydrogen vehicles. So time is an element. You need also to consider how long does it take you, and it's with some things it's going much faster. Like we've built the biggest PV plant in Austria as Vienna Airport. So this is something we could do, but with vehicles we still need some time to get the change fully done.
I just want to add one thing, maybe a little bit humor to this topic. In the state of California in US, the governor went to TV and said by 2025, we're not going to sell any combustible agent vehicles. Everything has to be electric. Everybody applaud. Literally next day he was on TV saying, can you please stop charging your cars because our grid cannot sustain it. So I'm with you that we have to be conscious, but we also have to be realistic how it's affect everything. And that's what I also said, that we're all under pressure to do something about it, but nobody wants to pay for it, which puts additional strain on a business. So we all as an industry need to really put our heads together. How do we move forward to really make an impact, real impact, not just the words, not just the political papers to sign, but actually real impact.
I mean, the question itself, yeah, as you asked it, yeah, it sounds like kind of there would be disconnect between decarbonization and resilience. Maybe it's not. Yeah. I just do see one big difference. Yeah. On resilience, everybody is on his own. Yeah. You have to take care for your company to build the company as resilient as possible. When it comes to decarbonization, we need the big collective, right? So it's not on this one, on that one company. It needs it all together. That has to be driven by politicians, of course, and has to be driven by very clear and hard measures to be executed.
Okay, understood. Very good. Thank you very much. On to the next question. So what contribution does digitalization make to strengthening global supply chains? Maybe we can start. Okay, Roland?
I cannot take it.
No, okay. Can we start with someone else instead?
I mean, I'll take it. Again, to me, it's about efficiencies. I think that as an industry, we made tremendous strides. And I'm sure everybody on the panel were involved in some type of digitalization. COVID kind of pushed us to that. Before COVID, globally, we were taking, I think, 13% of bookings online. Today, we're taking 68% of bookings online. The challenge is now, how do we take this and really turn it into the measurable efficiencies? How do we make process more seamless? We as an industry also need to learn to use data. That's where I think we're not good in talking to our customers, talking to our vendors. We put in lots of focus on the AI, on the data, because again, the efficiencies in our mind is not get rid of people, it's giving them tools. I always tell our staff is, I want you to talk to our customers, not talk to each other. And that's where the digitalization to us, it's not difficult to build a website to take a booking online. What do you do with that? What do you do with the data? What do you do with these efficiencies? That's what's important. COVID pushed us there. I think there's really no turnaround. The next 12 months will be huge in terms of AI in our industry. I think it's becoming a reality. I'm not sure if it's good or bad, we'll see, because you hear these horror stories of AI creating all kind of funny messages. But that's what's gonna, I think, make us much better supply chain, where we can actually approach business from a data perspective, from efficiency perspective, instead of just still a little bit archaic as an industry.
Should we try Roland first?
If it works
Yeah.
now,
Yeah,
can you hear me? Excellent. So I'm back. Well, I think digitalization is fundamental. And I would like to come back to the panel what we saw this morning. In the air freight industry, everybody says we need it. At the end of the day, there is no standard. As long as I have to use 5 different platforms to use a shipment with 5 different airlines, to manage data in 2 different systems because there are 2 different ground handlers at an airport, we are just talking, but we are not doing. So therefore, I strongly believe the first thing what has to be taken is to agree on standards. IATA might be a good platform for that, but yeah, IATA is a bit, let's call it rigid. I would also use another word. So I think this is something where the industry have to step up in a collaborative approach. This has to be standardized, it has to be accessible, not just for the big ones, also for the mid-size and small freight forwarders in the market, because this drives evolution. If everybody chips in a bit and if everybody contributes to the evolution of digitalization, we're going to get something very nice in near future. But for now, for me, these are just passwords. Everybody's talking about it, everybody wants to have it, but we are not doing what we are promising, actually.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to?
Yeah, you said one very important word. You were talking about digitalization is a revolution, and that's exactly what we all have to be aware of. Yeah? So digitalization is not a tool, it's not an application, it's not a process or something. It's an industrial revolution that we are in, and there's no way around it. Yeah? And the race was getting started almost 10 years ago, not today. Yeah? So all the topics we have been discussed so far, be it decarbonization, be it resilience, be it digitalization, it's all a must. So there is no option. Yeah? And I'm not sure if for sure not, yeah? If every company is really aware of that. Yeah? And here, it's all about awareness, that's the one thing. Yeah? Then you can get in, well, let's say, upgrading to the newest tools, to the newest operating systems, to the next visibility platform standard. Yeah? All nice, that's all super nice, but it's just one part or one side of the coin. The other side of the coin, which is much more important, in my opinion, and the much longer way, is mindset again, mindset of people. You have to get them there. You have these old people being in the industry since 10, 20, 30 years, working, operating in legacy systems, having the paper file, shutting everything down, and all of a sudden, that's all gone. You have to be digital, right? So this needs a kind of it needs guidance. It needs a balanced guidance. Yeah? But companies should have started 10 years ago. Yeah? If not, start today, because there's no way to cross it.
I would like to give you an example. 10 years ago, everybody was laughing about customs. To present a declaration, to get a stamp, all this. In the meantime, I believe the European customs system and the European customs processes are that far advanced, and the airline industry stagnated. So people we were making jokes about less than a decade ago have overtaken and are driving the program now. So I think it's up to the freight forwarder industry, to the airline industry, but also to the airports and the ground handlers to increase the cadence. Otherwise, we will never bring this into one sync, and then digitalization can only work as a chain and not as an individual. So congratulations to customs.
Last week I was discussing with my team, is present here, I was discussing why do we still go to every aircraft with the big pouch of papers? I mean, there is an airway bill, but that's difficult because, this is a standard, but it's not all data there, and you need other certificates too. So in the end, it's kind of like Lufthansa Cargo was in the press release saying they have 100% e-airway bills. That's a really good thing to do, but I think, as you've said, it's only the first step, because if there is not everything on the airway bills on it, it gets difficult for all the participants to share, and then you still have like one drive to an aircraft where you hand over the pouch of papers, and I agree, it's probably the time to change this.
I think it's also to do with generations and with the governments. I ask a little bit different question, same as you. I just was on vacation and come back. I travel 250 days a year normally. They still stamp my passport. Like, why do you need to stamp my passport? You scan it in the system. I'm in your system. Why do you need a stamp? Because we as a globe, as organizations, we just not moved yet past this. I can board the airplane with the face recognition, but the immigration still need to put a passport physically in a stamp. It's ridiculous. But that's what changed. I think you mentioned also like older people. We also need to think about new generation coming in. Generation like my kids who sit on TikTok and have a span of attention of nothing. They coming into the workforce. We need to create an environment that we need to expect the training is not going to be as good as was 20 years ago, where it was highly specialized through apprenticeship. Digitalization will be a large portion of it. Because the people who are coming in now, they're very good with technology, but they're not necessarily very good in learning certain functions. So digitalization will be a big, big portion of that.
And the challenge of today, and most probably also tomorrow, is to balance exactly the different types of generations. Yeah? So we hear that every day in the news and everywhere, generation Y, Z, and then there's X, and so on and so forth. Yeah? So all have different thinking, different mindset, but the challenge is to balance that. Yeah? So we were talking about e-error bill, e-manifest, maybe e-certificate of origin. They're talking about it since 20 years. But that's just a small part of digitalization, to be honest. So digitalization means much more to adopt and to change the way of thinking and the way you behave, the tools, the applications you get together. It's very tool and process driven, of course. Yeah? So this means also there will be another demand the demand of the type of freight forwarders, for example, logistics experts. This is going to change. So this will be a different type of human compared to what we have seen 10, 20 years back. Yeah? Because it's much more, let's say, it's about process thinking, it's about process designing. Otherwise, how would you otherwise comply with efficiency? Yeah? So I think these are the challenges. Yeah? Getting in the tools, the systems, fair enough. Actually, that's easy. Yeah? Adopting the mindset and the way of thinking of the people, especially of the older people, that's the challenge.
Absolutely. Yep, I agree. Fantastic, thank you. So we're just going to move on to some individual questions specific to each panel member. So we can start with Mr. Sack to start with. The airport is heavily involved in pharmaceutical logistics in the cargo sector. So how do you see further development opportunities here?
Okay. First of all, a step back into the history. Why has the airport built the pharma handling center that we operate now? It's because there were people like you in this room who said, well, there's the last puzzle piece at Vienna Airport missing. We do not have a pharma handling center. It was the customers, the airlines, the freight forwarders that drove us to this decision, and that we finally built it, and now we operate it. I have to admit that it was I'd say a bumpy start, even though the community said we do want to have a pharma handling center. It took us, I'd say, 1 to 2 years to really get it going, because then when it was built, everybody, we're coming back to the point you've mentioned, or many customers says, well, yeah, you have a pharma handling center, but we are not willing to pay more for this. Like, well, we have invested into the pharma, and it's a different product. I mean, it's GDP compliant. It's, yeah. So it took us, I'd say, 1 to 2 years between COVID as well. So it was probably another challenge too, to get the thing going, to get everybody on board. That we do have this service now. That it's a good one, and now we're experiencing really high growth rates. So we had 64% more volume last year than the year before. So it was really, really picking up. We have, I'd say, most of the main airlines and the freight forwarders on board. What we're doing now is still advertising it. So I'm not quite sure if everybody knows which the good service we are having here, and the good handling quality we do have. So I think it's one point to advertise it, what we have here, and how good the quality is. Second thing is, I think the future lies in pharmaceuticals. Asia was in the past I'd say an import market. I think it could be getting an export market also for pharmaceuticals. pharmaceuticals tend to be more tailor-made. So it's not mass production, it's probably more tailor-made, which also offers chances for us. And since we are, especially at Vienna Airport, we offer tailor-made solutions for the customers. I think it's a great chance for us. Also that you have more tailor-made products. But overall, I'd say very happy with the development. So we still see high growth rates. It's becoming more and more visible, the good quality we are having there, not only in the pharma handling center, but also at the airport, as an airport, as a ground and cargo handler. And I'm confident that we will be growing in the future, probably not by 60%, but that was an exceptional year, I'd say. But still, we expect high growth rates.
Thank you very much. We'll go on to Dimitri. Your question is, what is the importance of the markets in Central and Eastern Europe within your company?
I actually want to tie it up. There's a question on the screen, and the question is, do you expect increase in movie bag production factories from Asia to Central and Eastern Europe? That's why region is important for us. Probably everybody in this room heard about China +1. That's what everybody is looking at. Everybody is looking for the insourcing. We're not only looking for the Eastern and Central Europe, we're looking for Mexico, for example, for Americas, and for other places. There's no doubt that the manufacturers and the retailers took a note of the COVID. There's no doubt there's a China +1, and I really don't think the world will ever go back to that heavy reliance on one place. Eastern and Central Europe is a really natural fit. For those of you who's been at WOF, the previous one in Vienna, I was on the panel, and next to me was the gentleman from Makita Tools. He was an Eastern European manager. And we were just chatting, and I said, how are you dealing with the COVID? And he said, when we started, 65% of our tools were coming from China. And I said, and today? He said, 35. And that was a year ago. The trend is not going to change. People will move. Central and Eastern Europe is natural for the European Union, for the continent to look at this +1. So we look at it from that perspective. For us, it's the next logical step. Being closer to the customers, we're looking at it at the new hubs, being closer, not just being focused on Northern Europe, but also look at the Adriatic, at the Black Sea, because it's get us closer to the customers, because we believe that China +1 is going to continue.
Okay, thank you. I'll put the next two questions, so it will be individualized for our panel members. So the first one is to Mr. Sticht. So ACS is strongly anchored in the automotive, mechanical and engineering and analog engineering segments. So what influence will the topic of e-mobility have on your future development? So before you answer that, the next one will come to you, Mr. Friedrich, will be Maersk Air Cargo has also been active in Austria and Central Eastern Europe since the beginning of the year. From your point of view, what have been the initial reactions on the market? So we'll start with you, please, Mr. Stich.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, e-mobility is everywhere around. Yeah? It feels like every second person in Austria or even in the world is driving an electric car nowadays, but actually it's not. I think the latest figures is like close to 3% in Austria is e-mobility engine. And but on the other hand, the new registrations of cars in Austria is like up to 16%. Yeah? So there's a very clear trend that we're going to see a constant growth of e-mobility. To the automotive industry, this has a severe impact, of course, because looking at an electric engine compared to a diesel engine or something, there's a big difference because electric engine is like 200 parts, and a diesel engine is like 1,400 parts. Yeah? That also reflects the number of different suppliers sitting somewhere around in the region or even in the world, what is at the end of the day producing complex supply chains. Yeah? So that will be definitely an improve in terms of complexity of supply chains to car manufacturers, very clear. It also will have a big impact on the automotive infrastructure, which is a very important field, especially in Austria. Yeah? And Some will disappear, some will make their way to change and to adopt, yeah, very clearly. Yeah, but again, the total figures, the absolute figures today are close to 3% in Austria, and I think that's kind of representative to most of the other countries. Okay. But yes, there will be a certain change and impact on the supply chain, especially in the complexity of the supply chain. There's I mean, think about batteries. Transporting batteries by air freight or even ocean freight, that's a big issue. Talking to a carrier, sending an electric car, for example, that's a nightmare still. Because in many cases they don't even can tell you what are the clear requirements to declare the car. In some cases, some are asking for the MSDS of the battery. What is the battery? It's not the full; it's the cell itself. So, but typically the car manufacturer doesn't want to give it to you because it's kind of intellectual property. Also, the storage of batteries. Big issue, so there's no harmonization so far out there. So this is definitely some challenges we see in the market, but challenges mean chances and all good.
Yeah, correct. Yep. Would you like me to read the question again? Or?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, so Maersk Air Cargo has also been active in Austria and Central Eastern Europe since the beginning of the year. So from your point of view, what have been the initial reactions on the market?
Well, even actually, the startup Maersk Air Cargo went live in 2022 globally. And last year we managed around 300,000 tons globally, which is not so much compared to the big fives. In Austria, we just started 1st of January to close the white spot on the map Austria. So we have an organization here now. It's a very small organization, but we are recognized in the network. And we are partnering up with strategic partners on the Austrian market, which is going well. And we see the first successes. Of course, there is far more to gain. But for the first 3 months, I'm quite excited what we have already achieved. And I believe together with Stefan Gede, who runs the show here in Austria for us, we are on the right path and room to grow, and we're going to make it.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. Very quick question just to finish. If you can answer it in like a bullet point form, that'd be fantastic, because we're just a little bit short on time. So what measures are you pursuing in the next few years to consolidate your market position within global supply chains? So once again, maybe just 2 or 3 brief bullet point answers.
Sure. Well,
that's for everyone.
If I may start. I think the first action we are undertaking is to build a wider product portfolio, coming from being number 1 as the steamship line, going into contract logistics, going into customs clearance operations, going into air freight. Second thing is putting everything under one brand, Maersk. And the third task is to execute the plan like a clockwork, precisely and in a timely way.
Fantastic. Moving down, Dimitri.
I think we do what everybody else do. We focus again on the delivery and service. I think for 2 years as an industry, we were just trying to get through the day. So we're refocusing on delivery and service. We preparing to our industry going through further consolidation. I don't think it's a secret. People are out to buy, people are out to sell. Money eventually will be cheap again, and I think we'll see further consolidation, which will shrink the market for all of us, but also will bring new opportunities for a lot of us. I think market will defragment more to the really big and smaller, and there will be room for everyone. But right now, I think we're all going through a little bit of a wake-up call and coming back to a little bit to the basics.
Okay, thank you.
I'd say advertising and market more how good the quality at Vienna Airport, at the ground handling, the cargo handling really is, with the short transit times we have, good processes. I think there's still some work to do to get Vienna Airport as a cargo hub on the European map, because we're really delivering a good service, and we're well positioned in Central Europe. That's one thing we we need to do to further strengthen our market position and even grow.
Okay.
Okay,
very quickly.
I'll try to keep it short.
Very short.
Because we keep on going at ACS Logistics because of the simple reason the company was built exactly with the target to cope with these kind of challenges we see right now and over the past couple of years. We keep going for the talents out there on the market, for the talents with the right mindset to help developing the company further.
Thank you. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Thank you for your very thorough answers, and thank you for taking the time today to come and speak to the audience today. So from myself, I'd just like to quickly say that as part of the FAZ, we also have a free e-paper that's online at the oevz.com. And you can get information and details about today's panel discussion, which will be free for today and tomorrow. So please go online and obviously have a look and find out the information there. So thank you very much again to the panel, and I think you've all well deserved your break. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks.
So huge thanks to our guests. Ladies and gentlemen, we will have now a short lunch break, 1 hour lunch break, because we will continue with our program at 1:30. We prepared for you 3 more panel discussions. We will have 1 more keynote speech. Also, we organized for you a Vienna airport tour in the evening. And of course, you are warmly invited from 7:00 p.m. for our Connect and Charity. We would like to support, again, breast cancer patients. So all of information is needed how to support them you can find in our event brochure, as well as you still can download our B2Match app, and you can schedule your one-to-one meetings. So let's enjoy the time, and we will continue with our program at 1:30. Thank you.